All right. Hello and welcome everybody to our Galentine's Day event. Thank you so much for being here. All
Right.
right. So I know, Margo, you wanted to start us off with a disclaimer.
Well, I just want to welcome everybody here and be part of our Gallantines party. And just remind everybody that we're going to be doing some movements that are fun and that everybody really has to listen to their own body. Make sure to only do moves that feel comfortable in their own body. And that even though both Vanessa and I are experienced fitness instructors in our different ways, that none of what we're doing is meant to replace any sort of personal medical or fitness information that you might need. So you have to take care of your own body. And we're just making some suggestions we hope people enjoy.
So I just want to invite everybody to find a really comfy place, whether that is standing or seated, and just kind of roll your shoulders maybe, or really feel your sit bones on your seat, and just really allow the cares of your day to fade away and be here in the present moment, and really allow yourself to experience some of the things that we are going to be celebrating here together today. And I'd love you to type yes in the chat, or give us a little heart if you're ready to expand your self-love and your self-care toolbox. I'd love to know. Give me a heart or a thumbs up or a yes. Yes, all right. I see some hearts. Nice. And also, let me know if you're ready to celebrate. Who's ready to celebrate? Got some hearts for
Definitely.
celebrating. All right. Okay. So again, welcome. I'd love to officially welcome you to our Galentine's Day party. I want to acknowledge all of you for being here with us today. And I know that means that you are committed to showing up for yourself. So thank you. For those of you that are either here live or watching the replay who may not know me, I'm just going to do a very short intro. I'm Vanessa Nixon. As a traditional naturopath, CEO of the natural cosmetics company Natural Look Mineral Makeup, and a professional belly dance instructor, I am really passionate about helping empower women to thrive during the spiritual initiation of their menopausal journey, using nature as their guide so that they can make this the most vibrant, impactful phase of their lives through natural health, natural movement, and natural beauty. And I'm so excited that today we have Margo Rose here with us. And Margo is a personal trainer, the host of the Body Aware Living podcast, and author of the book Body Aware Grieving, a fitness trainer's guide to caring for your health during sad times. She loves ranches, farms, and being around horses. And I will, in a little bit, put her contact information into the Zoom chat, and I'll also be putting it in the Facebook group so that you can get to know Margo a little bit better. Her website is Body Aware Living. She's got her podcast, articles, videos about wellness, and her coaching services on her website. And I'll also put the links to her book in there for you. She's got a Body Aware Living page on Facebook as well as on YouTube. So welcome, Margo Rose. I'm so happy to have you co-facilitating our party here today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Vanessa. Who wants to start with something physical? It's Friday. It's the end of the week. Who wants to do something like really short and physical and fun? Okay, I see a lot of excitement. This is great. These are little moves. We've got a couple throughout the day we can pepper in here. Here's little moves that I call 1-minute wonders. They're just like simple, fast ways to change and improve your mood super quick. So let me stand up. You can sit down or stand up. But I want to show you a quick move that I call greet your people. So it's going to be great for posture and alignment. So you can, again, standing up or sitting out down, you gently let your arms float up to the side. It could be palms up if you want. And then we're going to reach gently across to one side. And like a queen that we are going to greet our people as if we were standing in front of our throng of adoring fans. We're going to reach across to that second side and we can greet our people. And we might even open our arms just gently a little wider and let those shoulders relax down a tiny bit more. We can come a second time across, and you're almost getting a little stretch up in your upper back if your hand wants to come a little lower now that it's warmed up towards your wrist. We can greet our people. And again, with regal and relaxation, we can then greet our people and let our arms relax on down. And if we want to, we could even stick our landing like the gymnasts do. The gymnasts is always, even if there's a mess or tech problems, stick our landing and give ourselves a great big round of applause. Because we deserve it for sure. We've all been doing things that get us deserving a big round of applause. So I wanted to get us started with something really just, yay, a little more energized.
Thank you so much for getting us moving and getting the blood circulation going. And I know I really want to get into this really juicy piece that you call a romance sabbatical, and all of the things that that are incorporated into what a romance sabbatical is. Because we're in this month of love, and we usually think about our romantic relationship when Valentine's Day is coming up. And regardless of our romantic status, we really want to celebrate this time with self-love, love for our friends and family members in other ways, rather than just like hyper focusing on the romance aspect of it. So I really am excited to hear about your perspective on this, what you call the romance sabbatical.
Well, sure. And romance sabbatical is just sort of a question. The question is, how can we all have our emotional, logistical, and physical needs met, whether or not we're currently in a romantic relationship? There's lots of reasons why we may or may not be in a romantic relationship at the moment. And we still want to have a very excellent, full life. So emotionally, you and I were talking a bit. Emotionally, we want to also look at who's our chosen family, who loves us, who helps take care of us, who do we feel our best around. And the more we can, that's about getting our emotional needs met, right? So it could be, people can, you can help me chime in. It could be birth family, it could be friends from childhood or high school that we stay in touch with. It could be people from different online communities that we've become part of. It could be neighbors. You had a story about a neighbor, for example, who was part of your chosen family in a way.
Yes, I have a great story, because I have not lived where I am now for very long, and I moved here right at the beginning, like within 2 days of all of the COVID restrictions starting. And so I didn't really get the opportunity to meet very many people or really get to know my neighbors. And, since then, that whole, getting to know people in a new community phase was over. And so I still haven't been in that mode of getting to know my neighbors. But here in the Pacific Northwest, in the last month or so, we had some stretches of freezing temperatures, and my pipes froze for 2 days. And I am not a person who knows a whole lot about, fixing home issues. And I don't have my family, my extended family living close to me. And I didn't really have very many friends nearby. And so it was a question like, okay, what do I do? I've never had frozen pipes. I don't know how to handle this. I don't know how serious this is. So I ended up going over to my neighbor, my next door neighbor, and they ended up actually going out and buying me some heat lamps to put in my
Hmm.
basement and walking me through their previous experience when they had frozen pipes, and just telling sharing with me their knowledge and their experience, and saying, well, you can come and use my bathroom. You could come over, and we can help you out with whatever you need. And so it just felt really heartwarming, to receive that generosity. And it's not normally something I would ask for, except I was in this crisis and I didn't really know what to do. And so it's a perfect example of, why we need to reach out to our networks and our support system. So we're not in that position of having a crisis moment and not knowing what to do and not knowing who to call.
Well, that's a perfect follow-up to this whole idea of greeting our people is like, who are our people? Like, that's how do we get more organized from a logistical, legal, medical emergency wellness perspective? Like, if people are married, it's assumed that these people have certain rights and can automatically, that they can and they would step in if you were having trouble or having an emergency. But especially if you're not in a romantic partnership or a marriage that's identified, we have to figure out who's who in our life. And the more organized we can be about, like your example is that some people are our neighbors, some people are geographically close to us, other people we've known longer, and they would do, what would people, who are the people who care about us, what would they like to help us with if we were in an emergency, what are they good at, and how would we connect with them, how if we were needing help, how organized can team Vanessa be, team Jackie, you know each of us has a team of people, but if they're not organized, they're not functioning as well. And so I was trying to figure out, how do we get that more organized? And Vanessa was, again, all the tech issues we've been having, Vanessa was really kind. I made some notes and I was hoping to have like an app or some like fancy downloadable thing to share with you guys. But we do have some notes we can share. And Vanessa was going to help me out with that a little bit. So
Yeah.
here's
Can
as
you
far as I
see?
got with some notes.
Is everybody
So
able to see our who's who list? Yes. All right.
yeah, so it's, and each person for now, I mean, until I come up with, okay, if people want to follow me on, I'm going to be organizing this into like some sort of interactive PDF that people can put in their own information and move it around and update it. And it's going to be really fancy and it's not ready yet. So if people want to go to Body Aware Living on a Facebook page, I'll start sharing it there when it's ready. And if you go to the Body Aware Living website and want to share your email address with me, I will definitely be sharing this in my monthly newsletter when it's available. So for now, people can come up with whatever way of record keeping and organizing helps them figure out, you know, who do you know who cares about you? Are they from youth, from your youth? Are they clients? Are they workmates, employees? Are they from a religious group, social interest community, online? Like sometimes you might have somebody completely unexpected who would do a lot for you, some former client or someone who you've really, like someone who's touched you deeply and they would really step up in an emergency. Does that make sense to anybody, that we have these random people, but if they're not organized, they're not helping us as well? Um, so then every 3 to 6 months, we might want to look at that list and say, well, who new has come into my life, or maybe I had a falling out, or maybe somebody passed away or has too much of their own problem to be of service. So we might want to update that pretty often. Um, so then there's different kinds of support. Like if you ask people for what they're good at doing and what they want to help you with, you get a really positive response. But if you ask the wrong person for something that they don't, yes, somebody for something they don't like to do, and it's going to be harder to organize. So some people might be better at, medical and health knowledge or advocacy. Some people might be able to stay overnight. Maybe someone who wants to cook and bring food if you needed it. Maybe there's people who could help with your pet if you went through an emergency and you had pets. Somebody might be calm in an emergency. That's a good, useful skill that people have. Financial support. Maybe you know people who might be willing to come up with $1,000 or $5,000 if you needed help. It would be nice to know that in advance. You ask the wrong person for money, that's a problem. You ask the right person their money, they're like, oh, that's something I could do. And yeah, this situation's important. So having some of these things, if you can sort of read through the list, but it's like rides and transportation, technical skills, who's good at healing arts, who's good at research, phone calls, administrative, who's emotionally supportive, who's already been through some things that you or might need help with now, like end of life or hospice, caregiving, who's got experiences that you don't have to learn from scratch, they can help you. Who's multilingual, maybe sometimes speaking Spanish or another language comes in handy. And I guess last, as we organize this list, it's how do people like being reached out to? Do they some there's phone call. Does this make sense? Some people are phone call people these days. Some people would hate to have a voicemail but would respond. What communication style will somebody respond the fastest to? And do they find the most convenient? And then around this whole teamwork sense, do people want to be contacted like on a monthly basis, only if there's an emergency, if you're going through a big life change, like a move or something that you would let everyone know. And I just wrote for, are they a morning or evening person? Like even the devil's in the details sometimes. If you call an evening person or a night owl at 7 in the morning to ask for a favor, is it possible that you'd be less likely? What do you think? I'm asleep by 7 p.m. sometimes. If someone calls me at night, I'm not thinking as clearly. I can't help them as well. So this is just a little start of an idea that does it make sense to anybody that this could be useful if we had something like this?
Margo, I think this is brilliant.
Hmm.
This is something that I have never thought about, is organizing all this information. My pipes freezing kind of was a wake up call for me to
Mhm.
realize, I know I have a support system. I know there are people out there that can help me, but I don't have it organized. I don't have all of their contacts in one place. So this is just a brilliant way. I can't wait until you have it all, in some kind of handy dandy little app or PDF or spreadsheet. But it certainly is something that we could all, create these lists so that we have it all in one place.
Yeah, and the idea of like team leads, like there might be one, like your neighbor who you know already is calm in a crisis and helpful and knows where you are and cares about you. They've already been, they might be like team lead neighbor, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The idea also is that you don't want people who are trying to offer help to think they're the only ones that could possibly help you, because they're going to come up against their own limitations. I'm too busy. I don't have all the skills. I don't know when to stop caregiving if I run out of time or an opportunity to what I can offer at the time. So the more everybody in the group knows there's a group and knows how it's going to function and knows how it can communicate when that key person might not be able to communicate, the more people will contribute if they know other people are also in position helping with other parts of it. I'm
I
hoping
think
some of
that's
this
a
makes
really
sense. Yeah.
I think that's a really key piece, because they don't want to think like, oh, I'm your emergency contact. You're going to be contacting me for every emergency.
Yeah.
That can feel like a lot, can feel
Yeah.
overwhelming. So, yeah. And, I think it's so crucial for those of us who aren't partnered, because a lot of times that partner is the one who does some of these things on a more regular basis or who wants to. And so I love that, we're talking about how can we create this support system, whether we're partnered or not.
Well, and I mean, we can move on to, I'd like to do something sexy and fun, and then we can come back to
Yeah.
talking. Maybe we can have you do one of your like fancy, sexy moves. But this
Well,
idea around
yeah.
partnership also is that a lot of times, if we are in that key partnership and going through an emergency, that partner is the most upset person of anybody because their partner is in trouble. So they may or may not have the skills you need. if it's something like a car accident or a plane crash or something, or plane, well, let's leave plane crash out of it. If it's something like a car accident, the likelihood is they could have been in the car with you. They could be having an emergency at the same time. And if you're having a problem, your primary married or partnered romantic person, there's a million reasons why it just does take a village. That key person is
Mhm.
going to need help from the rest of the tribe. They're going to need to be comforted because they love, we just,
Yep.
many hands make light work is sort of the general idea.
I love this. I love this. And so I think this is a perfect time to kind of go into, we've talked about some of the emotional needs of, having our chosen family and how they can fulfill that. And we've talked about all of these logistical things that most of us don't think about. But then there's the physical component. And, we're going to get into some more movement here, but I just wanted to talk about some of the physical needs that we have if we're not partnered, or even if we are, that our partner is not always able to meet. We have this idea about touch being a basic need. And I know you had some thoughts around that. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
Well, I mean, is touch a basic human need or not? And if it is, how are all basic humans going to have it whenever we want and need it? Not when we feel cute and not when we're sexy and on a date that might be going one way or not. Like, if it's a basic need to have a certain amount of physical contact, I think we need to figure out how do we have it on a reliable basis, even especially during the worst of times. So how can we expand that distinction of what are our physical needs? And is it about being with animals more often? Is it about having cuddle buddies? Is it about doing massage exchanges? How many yes answers can we have to getting the touch? And then it can get really tricky when we start talking about, what about sensuality? Should we not be having sensuality when we're quote unquote single? That doesn't, like, what's the difference between being, horny? What's the difference between feeling desirable? What's the difference between feeling beautiful? Like, each of these things is really multi-layered. But bottom line, mama needs her medicine, like, how do we how do we I mean, it's
Yeah.
not figured out yet. Like, I'm not saying I have the answers. I'm saying these should be some really interesting questions so that, we could be happy and physically erotic and sexy and touched and cuddled, and we should have more right answers is all I'm putting out there as a question. How do we do
Yeah,
that?
I love that you're asking that question. And I in a summit that I did a couple of years ago, one of the women that I was speaking with was talking about this very thing, about how we kind of in our culture view touch as something that we only do with a romantic partner. And so she was talking about, well, what are some ways that we can cuddle with our friends? With is it holding hands? We don't often see people holding hands unless they're in a partnership, a romantic
Mhm.
partnership. But does it have to be limited? I love your idea of cuddle buddies. I'm wondering if any of you have any ideas, if you'd like to put those in the chat. What are some of the ways that we could get our needs, our basic needs, if it is a basic need, to be touched? How can we get those met, whether we're in a partnership, a romantic partnership or not? Because I do think it's a great question. I personally do think that touch is a basic need. And when I had children, I had three little girls crawling all over me all the time. And I loved it. And I got so much of my needs, a physical touch met.
Mhm.
But now I'm an empty nester. They're all off on their own. And I'm not in partnership, in a romantic partnership. Um, and unless I have my extra room rented out, which sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, I'm living alone.
Mhm.
And so I often think about that. And I have two beautiful cats that cuddle with me every time I sit down. They're right on my lap and they're giving me little, kisses. And
Mhm.
I find that really does fulfill a lot of those basic needs for just being close to another living being.
Yeah.
I also, for myself, feel the same way when I'm out in my garden and I'm working with the plants, and I can feel their energy all around me, and I'm working with them, I'm touching them, I'm smelling them, I'm, creating remedies with them. And then I'm nurturing their environment. I'm taking care of where they're growing. So that's another thing for me that meets those needs, to have that closeness and to be touching another living thing.
Yeah, the nature of the animals, like I live on a ranch right now part of the year, and I help take care of 23 horses, including little baby horses. So I'm getting a lot of my cuddle and touch needs met when I'm like grooming horses and massaging horses. And I actually have a funny story about this. Can I tell you? Can I tell you just like a really short, funny story? Anyway,
Absolutely.
to that, right? So I've spent like 20 years working with seniors, and a lot of that it starts to get into this like caregiving, like paid caregivers. What do paid caregivers do? Paid caregiving is often, 25 to $40 an hour, and I was single and kind of lonely, and I was getting over a concussion, and I was like, I'd watched a lot of the care that people give these caregivers. They'll help someone take a bath, and they'll wash your hair, they'll put on the lotion, they'll help you get into bed. You could have someone comb your hair and maybe read you a story. I was like, at the time, I hadn't had a date that good in a really long time. I was like, that sounds awesome. And so I was like, options are good. Like maybe the fine line between where dating ends and where paying caregivers begins, maybe I can shorten that up. And I was actually on a phone with a caregiving organization asking if I could see the photos of some of the caregiving organizations provide little photos and bios of some of their paid caregivers. And I was on the phone with one of these women, and she's like, and who are you calling on behalf of? And I'm like, myself. And she's like, how old are you? And I was like, 51 at the time. She was like, but I'm like, I'm just saying more. They had a end of that story is they had a 4 hour per week minimum, and I wasn't ready to go that far. But the point is that a lot of these little simple activities, someone brushing your hair and helping you put on your lotion, I mean, how lovely is that? And it's not illegal, and you can get people who want to do that. So anyhow, that's
right. And I know cuddle buddies, that's a service that people are offering, just need some cuddle time. So I think all of these ideas are great. And I wanted to shift into this, like the different connotations we have of sexuality and sensuality, and how we have been conditioned to think about that, and how we might want to reframe those ideas that we have. And you spoke to it a little bit early on, and for me, as a dancer, as someone who is very physical, and someone who has the experience of movement being just a really rich way to enhance my life and fulfill some of those needs of my body, and being a belly dance instructor, I find that this is just a really great way for my body to get its needs met, is in a form of movement that's sensual, but it doesn't have to be sexual. It's using all of the senses in a way that is really enriching and really sparks that creative energy, that oftentimes that creative energy that's, kind of in that womb space, we think about that just automatically being channeled into sex, but that same creative life energy can be channeled other ways. And so for me, belly dance is a really wonderful way to channel that energy. Again, whether you're partnered or not, whether you have a sexual partner or you don't, I think it's really important for us to find out how to bring out our own sensuality and how that feels for us. And I would love to do a little bit of movement. So who would like to do some sensual movement? Yay.
Yeah,
All right.
we're so lucky we get to be our own fine self. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah. So
we get to be
I'm
ourselves,
gonna
man. That's awesome. How lucky is that, you know?
I'm gonna put on some music and share it here. Hopefully you can hear this. Can you hear some music in the background? Is that good? All right.
Yeah.
So I want to do what I like to call head, heart, and hips. So it's a connection that creates this really strong inner core between the head, the heart, and the hips, which can also be thought of as like the mind, the soul, and the intuition. And when all of those are in alignment and connected, then, you know, all of our decisions, all the things we do just flow. And we can bring out that sensuality. So with the head, we're just going to do a simple head roll. So, you know, stand or sit with a nice straight posture, nice long neck. And go ahead and look down and feel that gentle stretch in the back of your neck. Maybe take a couple of deep belly breaths here. And then begin to roll your head to the side, nice and slow. And then to the back. Continue around in this circle. And just really set the intention to create more flexibility, to release tension, and to allow more space in. And when your head gets around to the downward position, pause for a moment and then just reverse. Keep those deep belly breaths going. And just this simple head roll can really release things and open your energy channel. So when your head gets to the downward position, go ahead and pause again and bring it back to the middle. And so then we're just gonna do some very quick little, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on each section. We're gonna move down to the heart. So we're gonna do a heart opening move now. And so the first move we're gonna do is we're gonna think about the chest and rib cage here. We're gonna think about just sliding it to the side. Slide that section of your body side to side. And again, feel how much space this creates in your torso, in your heart space, as you slide from side to side. And then we're going to slide forward and back. So when you slide forward, really think about opening the chest up and sliding back. And now we're going to connect these 4 points. So we're going to slide to the side, slide forward, side, and back. And either you can stay with those 4 points or connect them in a circle and really think about how this is expanding your heart space as you do this simple exercise. And then reverse, go the opposite direction. Feel the flexibility in your spine, in your chest, in your rib cage. Keep breathing deeply. Now we're going to go down to the hips. And so, you know, the pelvic area is just really so important, especially for us as women, as we grow and mature. Keeping the pelvis really strong and connected is very important. So with the hips, what I want to do is similar to this circle that we did with the chest. So with the hips, we're going to put the hips over to one side. And then think about our hips are going to draw a big circle around the body, and the body is going to stay centered. The hips are going to come forward, keeping your spine nice and straight to the other side, to the back. Like our hips are drawing a big circle around our body. Engage your core, keep the spine straight. There's no pressure on your spine. When you get around to the opposite side that you started on, go ahead and pause, and then reverse, going forward first. And then you can even play around with doing maybe some smaller, faster hip circles, reversing those and go out to those slow, big hip circles, playing around with it. You can move your hands around a little, whatever makes your body feel really nice and sensual and brings that energy forward. Okay, and then just think about that core connecting the hips, the heart, and the head all together. And I know Margo's favorite move is snake arms. So we're going to do some snake arms. So let's start with one side. We're going to lift the shoulder, then the elbow, then the wrist and the fingers, and then drop the shoulder, elbow, wrist, and just think about the energy flowing out to the side from your body. And this nice slow progression. And then we're going to go to the other arm, shoulder, elbow, wrist, finger, shoulder, elbow, wrist, finger. Flowing one to the other. And then we're going to add the two together. So one arm goes up, and as it goes down, the other arm goes up. So we're alternating. So not only is this providing a lot of spaciousness in the chest and bringing this energy out into the world from our heart, but we're also creating all these new neural networks in our brain doing these alternating movements. All right, beautiful, wonderful, and you could speed those up too. All right, okay, and then just gather all that energy up and give yourself a nice big squeeze. All right, beautiful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for doing those movements with me, and I'm going to go ahead and pause our music here. And I know, Margo, you had a few little movement pieces that you wanted to bring in too.
Sure, absolutely. And that was hot, I don't know. That was like that was hot. And we got to do it together with each other. And we also got to do it in our own bodies. And we can that's so available. It didn't even take 5-10 minutes. And it was just so totally hot. And that kind of goes as we transition into another move, which I do look forward to doing, that really goes into this idea like romance sabbatical, meaning making sure we have all our needs met, whether or not we're in a romance, is not meant to be anti-romance. Like it all fits together, right? The more we know who our chosen family is, and the more we're loved and relaxed about who we're going to be growing old with over the years, because that's our community. And then the more organized we are with our logistics and emergency care, that makes, and then the more we're like, ooh, we are so sexy. We are so lucky just to be us. It's like, that's all the more to share in a relationship that does become romantic if someone's worthy. When you find the right worthy situation, it should actually increase not only our desire and relaxation, but also our desirability. And so I just wanted to be clear, like making sure we're fine one way or another doesn't mean we don't want to have an openness to a love relationship that's a traditional romance, or whichever kind of romance we happen to prefer. It's more, not less likely that we're going to have it if we have all this wellness that we're coming from. So anyhow, I just wanted to add a little bit of that. So more movement. All right, let's keep this going. What was I know what I wanted to do. We talked about, when we were talking previously in advance of this, we talked about this idea of like trying to be beautiful, and how do we learn how to use a mirror as a tool, how to use a mirror as a tool and not a weapon? How do we not minimize our own quality of life and our own sensuality by being too mean to ourselves about not appreciating our own beauty as it's happening, over age, when we're not feeling good? Like how do we enhance our own enjoyment by being so anyhow? So one of the things I came up with is something I call ugly face. An ugly face just super briefly, I invented it during a really sad period of my life. My dad was sick and I was newly single. It was just sort of one of those total mess kind of times in life. And I was really sad. And I said, well, what does being this sad look like? And I sort of took out my little early precursor to a camera on a phone and I flipped my phone open and I filmed myself for 1 minute making I looked sad, which made me think, oh, I don't look pretty. And then I was like, and then I just started making the most crazy, wild, ugly faces I possibly could as fast as I could for like 30 seconds to a minute. And at the end, I was so relaxed. All these muscles were way more calmed, and I didn't look so bad anymore. But when you stop doing ugly face, all of a sudden you look lovely, right? Does anybody feel like, okay, people on the video, okay, you're not going to end up in the replay. So you can be as crazy as you want because we're communicating with you, but we're not going to have you shared publicly. So you can be as wacky as you want if you want to try this with us. Does anyone want to try ugly face with me? Can we try it together for a little bit?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Let's do 30 seconds of ugly face.
30 seconds of ugly face. And 3, 2, 1. And 3, and 2, and 1. And then you can stop ugly face.
Oh my
And
goodness, that
don't
was
you look
great.
lovely?
That was awesome. That was awesome. I know you have a couple more, and I want to make sure we get through these. So, you had this other little exercise called Today Body that I thought was really intriguing. I would love to hear about that.
Sure. Today body and ugly face are also what I call these like 1 minute wonders. They really don't take long, but see if you don't feel shifted in your mood after something like that. So today body is just sometimes, especially when things are chaotic and we're overwhelmed, sometimes like it can help us focus when something just feels real and true. Like it's not an emotion, it's not a responsibility, it's not something we're feeling guilty about. I'm like, this is real and true. So coming from that, I invented this state. I started saying to myself, this is my today body. I'm doing it every day. Like this is what I can control. And every day, my today body is what I can control. That's what it's just true. It's just true that this is my body today, and it's each of our bodies today. So I made up like I tried that as well. I was like, well, what happens if, for say, we can try 30 seconds or up to a minute? We just we make that statement if it appeals to you. This is my today body. I'm doing it every day, and we can use as many different kinds of movements or emotions as we feel compelled to do. Um, does anybody want to try it and see if they don't feel a little bit more empowered when they do it? Try it.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's just try it for 30 seconds. And we're not going to sound like we're saying it at the same time. So say it whenever you want. And you can stand up, you can move, and you might feel like a lot of different people each day that you don't get to express. So here's a time that you can express, maybe you're caregiving and you're not feeling sexy because you're being a caregiver, but you still feel that way. So we'll play around with it. Okay. So 3, 2, 1. This is my today body.
This is
I'm
my
doing it
today
every day.
body.
We can each say it, right?
Doing it every
This
day.
is my today body. I'm doing it every day.
My today
This
body.
is my today body.
Every
I'm
day.
doing it every day.
This
This
is my today
is my
body.
today body. I'm
I'm doing
doing
it
it
every day.
every day. This is my today body. I'm doing it every day.
Doing it every day.
This is my today body.
My
I'm doing
today
it
body.
every day.
It every day. All right. I love that one. It does feel very empowered feels very powerful to just like own it. This is it. This is what we've got. I know there's another one that I really wanted to know what it's all about. I think we have time for this one last one called Laughing Hands.
Laughing hands. Okay, is there anything else you want to add as well? I don't want to hog our show here.
That's okay. There's a couple things that I want to say after this, but yeah, I'd love to go to Laughing Hands.
Okay, laughing hands I've borrowed very generously from laughter yoga, which laughter yoga is got a medical background where they were experimenting. Is laughter really the best medicine? Like, is laughter good for healing, circulation, breaking up your mood? Can laughter be useful for our health? And so laughter yoga, you can look online. There's online and in-person laughter yoga communities and clubs across the globe. So if you like this idea that I've made up my own version, there's people leading it around the world, and I encourage you to check any of them out. But laughing hands is where we'll say it's like 6 ha's as we open one hand. It'll be like this: ha, 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 with one hand. The other hand, ha, 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 ha. And then we can do both hands at the same time. And if it happens, we just start laughing or pretending to laugh or listening to each other laugh as long and as hard as we want. Okay. So follow along. And at the end, if you want to just lose it and say it's Friday or whatever day it is for you, whatever's going on in your life, you still know how to laugh. Okay. So follow along, and there's no way to mess up. We're making it up, right? So ha, 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 ha.
Ha.
Second hand. Ha, 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 ha.
Ha.
Both hands. Ha,
Ha.
ha, ha,
Ha.
ha, ha.
Ha. Ha. Ha. I've heard of laughter yoga before, and so I love your version of it. It's awesome. It does bring up that little playful energy. There she goes. Oh, that's wonderful. And I know we only have a few minutes left, and I want to respect your time. And I've just loved all the playful little things and the 1 minute wonders and being able to move together. But I also want to say that I think this idea of having our own Gallantines Day event wherever we are really is inspiring to me. And I would love to hear in the chat if you have any ideas for, how you could create a Gallantines Day event, or things that you might like to do in the future. Because, these are some of the ideas we had that we thought would be really fun, but I would love to hear if you have any ideas. And I think it's perfect today, and this is one of the reasons why we chose this day to have our event, is that it's a new moon. And it's a new moon in Aquarius, which is all about innovation and community and the collective. And, new moons are all about planting seeds and, thinking, setting our intentions for what we want to come to fruition. So if anybody, has any ideas or any thoughts about creating their own Gallantines Day event, this would be a perfect time to, start putting those plans into motion. So I'd love to hear any ideas. Margo, do you have any other ideas for how people could create their own parties or events around this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is sort of coming full circle about, we had this event before Valentine's Day because the month of February, for people who are quote unquote single, the month of February is just like this depressing march of chocolates and roses everywhere that makes the people who are already in happy relationships, they're fine all year long, right? Like, but it's really hard. So the idea is we planned this for the week before the actual Valentine's Day, because this is where you can go reach out to your chosen family and make a plan, especially if it's on Valentine's Day. Go do something fun with your key people. I was thinking we could even do something like Palantines Day, because maybe some of our friends and the people we want to hang out with aren't romantic partners, but they're men or whatever gender they're in the mood for. You know what I mean? So we could have like a Gallantines Day party or a Palantines Day party, and just encouraging people, email, phone call, get together in person with anyone who you like and love, and go do something fun on February 14th, and make it a day that you're like, I did this on Valentine's Day 2024. Like, do something fun. Give yourself a good Valentine's Day this day. I don't know if there was enough detail, but
I
figure out who you
love
like and
that.
go do something.
I love that. And actually, I have already planned what I'm going to do on Valentine's Day because my daughters are having the premiere of their latest short film. And it happens
Nice.
to be on Valentine's Day. So I'm going to go to their premiere and hang out with my daughters and just celebrate with them. So that's, that's what I'm going to do as my Galentine and Palantine Day event. But I love this idea of just like creating something and making it your own. And
Yeah.
we're almost to the top of the hour here, and I would love to hear your takeaways. If you have any takeaways that you want to put into the chat, or what you liked or thought was really interesting that we've done in the last hour, or if there was something inspiring that you want to take away and make your own. I would
Yeah.
love I would love to do that. And while you are doing that, I have another free event coming up that I just wanted to share really quickly. That's coming up at the end of this month on February 28th. I am part of a book launch party. I am now going to be a multiply published author. I'm in a collaborative book called Love Notes for the Soul, and we're having a fun launch party on the 28th, when the day that the book comes out. And so there's a little link there. If that sounds like something fun, we're going to be doing all kinds of fun things. And each author will have an opportunity to do, say a little bit about their story. But that's a little free, fun thing to do for February, and it's all about self-love. All of the stories in the book were about finding love within yourself. So it's perfect for the month of February. And I'm going to put a couple of links in here of Margo's website and her contact. So while I'm doing that, Margo, do you have any last things that you wanted to share?
Well, I just want to thank you, Vanessa, for just being such an incredible woman. And you have so much knowledge, and you put all this organization into creating this great event. I know we had some tech issues. We're going to have a replay that we can share with people, so more people will be able to join in. And we hope we see their comments. If you're watching on the replay, join us in the comments, do little thumbs up, show us which part of this discussion, if anything, you were supported by. So, hopefully the replay will be really fun. And I just want to know, how can we help you? You're just this lovely human being. What can anybody who wants to be on Team Vanessa, anyone who wants to be on Team Vanessa, what can we do for you?
Well, thank you so much for all of your kind words. And, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming into my group. I know I feel bad that we weren't able to live stream it, but like you said, we're going to be putting the recording into the group, so that everybody can view it and participate, and hopefully we'll get some really wonderful comments. And everybody that's here is part of the group, so that's wonderful. And I just feel really filled up. I would love, to spread the word about the upcoming launch of Love Notes for the Soul, and I will be putting some things out over the next couple of weeks about that, just so that we can get it into the hands of more people.
Yeah, likewise. So liking things, sharing things, you can see that people put a lot of time and effort and very good intention, and a little bit of, tech courage to try to make these things happen. And so once we produce something that we want it to be useful, we want it to be in people's hands, we want it to be of benefit. So yeah, if people can like or share this, send it to anyone, especially coming up on Valentine's Day, send this to other people. It doesn't, we don't have to keep it just to ourselves. We can press the share button and or email this to people that we're like, hey, let's all, let's start doing some of these things. Let's make some of these things really real. So anyhow, I hope people all
Yeah.
contribute towards that.
Yes, and there are some comments coming in. So Linda said, "This is so fun. Love the movement and the tips." And Jackie
No.
said, "Thank you so much, lovely Vanessa and marvelous Margo." Yes, Margo, you are marvelous. Said this is super great, especially the movement and the laughter yoga. I really like the list of family contacts. Thank you, Margo. And
You're
Palantine
welcome.
events. Yes, yes. I think your list, your who's who list, is super valuable, and so I can't wait when that comes out in your final version.
Facebook page, Body Aware Living Group, and I'll be having, this is just the hint of the beginning of the questions. This is just the beginning of these useful questions. We don't have the answers yet, so that's what we want to follow up with. We want to make this real. We want to all feel like we have everything we need anytime we need it. And yeah, so please participate. Stay in touch on the website. Listen to the podcasts if you want. YouTube channel if you want to check out my YouTube videos. I've got a dozen of interviews I've already done. I've got a fantastic interview last year with Vanessa Nixon. And yeah, like, share, subscribe, and all the good stuff. And we'll all be on the tide that keeps our boats afloat, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you so much, Margo, for being here to co-hostess the party. And I will be getting this into the Facebook group. I'm also going to put it on my Facebook business page so that we can share it out more widely. So thank you so much. And we look forward to hearing about your Gallantines and Palantines parties. All right. Thank you. And we will see you all very soon.